You're listening to a podcast by Last Minute Crack with your host, me, Christina Hamilton. Last Minute Crack is your one-stop shop for all things arts and culture in Dublin City. For more information, check out our website at lastminutecrack.com or visit us on Instagram at lastminutecrack. A special thank you to Thibaut Kemoret for his help with the sound and for the music on this intro. Another thank you goes out to Zoe Spillane for her help managing the page. And now for your episode. Okay, cool. Here we go. Okay, hi everyone, and welcome back to Last Minute Chats with me, your host, Christina. We're back in Music Maker one more time. Well, hopefully not the last time. And we're here with Jim Elliott. Jim, how are you doing?
Might be the last time. You want to steal some guitars?
Hey, they're very beautiful.
They are very beautiful, and there's a lot. They wouldn't miss two.
No,
right?
No.
Come on.
Yeah, come on. They've too many in here.
They have too many.
Too many guitars.
Yep.
How are you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
I'm not too bad. It's a rainy Sunday.
It is a dreary, disgusting, wet day outside.
It's not nice, but here we are.
Here we are.
Brilliant.
Only mildly hungover.
Well, that's the best way to be, honestly. That is the best way to be.
That way, what's going on inside your head matches the gray wetness outside.
That's beautiful. Mm-hmm. That's poetry.
It is.
So I want to talk to you a little bit today about you.
Whee!
So you're
my favorite subject.
Hailing from the beautiful Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
And you're over here.
Originally from Washington, D.C., but I've been here like 15, 16 years now.
Brilliant. My first question, why?
So I came for what I thought was going to be a fun summer of working in pubs and hanging out in Dublin, and then I met a girl.
Oh, I love that.
So yeah, it's about every American man that I've met that has settled here has some version of that story. That's exactly what happened.
It worked out? It worked out?
Oh yeah.
I love that.
We've been married 12 years now, 13 years. Something like that.
That's a proper kind of movie. Do you know what I mean? Like Love Actually kind of vibe. I came over to work in a pub. A young Irish lass.
Yeah, I'd agree with you, except like I don't know that there's a single romantic relationship in Love Actually that's appropriate. Every single one of them is somebody in a position of power at work trying to bang somebody else that they work with.
True.
From the prime minister to the guy who sleeps with his housekeeper to the movie opens with the guy's wife banging his brother.
I forgot about this.
Yeah.
It's been ages since I've seen it. I didn't expect you to have such feelings.
Oh, is this not a Love Actually podcast?
This is called Last Minute Love Actually.
I can talk Love Actually for the only healthy guy is the guy who goes to Milwaukee and sleeps with a room full of girls, because that's the only one where they're on equal ground and it's all consensual and it's polyamorous because they all sleep together, you know?
Well, happy for them. Somebody is out there doing it and we're proud of them.
Absolutely.
So brilliant. So that was a tangent.
There's going to be a lot of those.
No, I'm happy to go on that journey with you, man, anytime. But I want to talk to you. So when did you get into comedy?
I started comedy when I was in DC. So I was probably 26. So I guess 17, 18 years ago. And I'd always loved stand-up comedy. I was the kid on the bus who would memorize every word of Martin Lawrence or Chris Rock or some old Billy Connolly stuff was great as well. And I was just really enjoyed it. And then I went to college, got out of college, and I was hanging out with a friend of mine who had also gone away from college. I hadn't seen him in a couple of years. And I was like, hey, man, I think he was going to Florida State or somewhere in Florida. And I go, so I graduated. How'd you do? And he goes, I dropped out 2 years ago. I'm a comedian. And I was like, no way. And he goes, I'm going to an open mic tonight. Do you want to come with? And so I went with him and I stayed and I watched a bunch of open mics first. And open mic comedy is God bless people who willingly go to open mic comedy.
God bless them.
Because that's where people learn and you try to get better. And so you
find diamonds in the rough.
You do find, but there's a lot of rough is what I'm getting at.
The chaff.
There's a lot of chaff. And in watching people like I went to my open mics and I'd see a couple guys who were inspiring, like, oh my God, that guy's incredible. And then you see a bunch of utterly delusional lunatics. And I thought, well, look, if that's this, I can I can do better than that, or at least I could. If you're allowed to suck that hard, then I should give this a shot.
Absolutely.
And so it took me about a year to work up the nerve. But yeah, I started writing material, started going to open mics. There's a lot more. I was lucky in that at the time, the Washington D.C. comedy scene had a ton of open mics, so you could get up every night of the week if you wanted to. And they were, proper open mics in the spirit of it, where like the show starts at 8, but at 6 o'clock the host gets there and puts a piece of paper on a table, and the first 12 people to write their names on that piece of paper are going to get 4 minutes each. So as long as you're willing to be early and hang around, you can get spots. So I started doing that, and then maybe 2.5 years later, I moved here and started trying to get myself into the clubs in Dublin.
And you're in a lot of them.
I'm in just about every club in Ireland.
I'm interested in the difference in the scene between Washington and here, because I've gone around a little bit in the comedy circle for 5 minutes, but I found it's very gritty, right? It is the very much, you have to be there on time to get yourself on the paper, or else you're absolutely screwed. And then it's all this jostling for position, right? And it also is like, it is a lot of, there is a massive flow of newbies, which I love. But how does that compare to Washington?
I mean, it's the same thing. There's always every year there's another 50 people who want to give it a shot, and there's kind of a similar thing between DC and Dublin, where when people get big enough, because there's really not much of an entertainment industry to break into, you know what I mean? So if you want to be a comic, or you want to be maybe a comedian and an actor or something like that, most people are going to have to move to London. Same thing with DC. Most people are going to have to eventually move to either Los Angeles or New York if you want to start, get a manager and start touring and stuff like that. So
yeah, I think that's brilliant. And you said that so you're a well-known person on the scene. Like, you've gone to a lot of the festivals. You're in Laughter Lounge.
Actually, if you want, I got proof that my career is actually going better than I thought, maybe, because just a couple of days ago, somebody found on Instagram and sent it to me, a fake profile of me.
Oh, that's when you know.
My real profile name with the word official on the end of it, and they'd stolen my actual profile photo. Now, the account was private, so I don't know what. I mean, I'm sure it was just people who would think they were following me would follow that account, and then that account would like try to sell them Bitcoin. I don't know, whatever the scam usually is.
I don't know, or need some money from far away from an aunt.
Exactly. Listen, I got $10 million in a bank account. If you could send me $3,000, then I could afford the key that I need to unlock this bank account. Just send that, and I'll share it. I tell you what, I'm so generous. I'll give you half. I'll give you $5 million if you just send me $3,000 right now.
That sounds believable to me.
Yep.
I'd fall for that on a Sunday morning. But to talk about like the festivals and the shows, like you've done so many things. Like it is the Vodafone Comedy Festival, probably Paddy Power, and then Laughter Lounge, and then you're a commentator on News Talk. What's your favorite? Where is Jim Elliott like the happiest?
Oh, it's on stage at a comedy club. Like I do enjoy doing the News Talk stuff, and they're nice enough. They get me in every couple of weeks just to do the usual like Friday afternoon bit of thing where they're like, it's not serious news, obviously. They picked up 5 weird news stories from during the week about, they love to get me in there when they want to argue about tipping, because tipping is a thing that exists, and there's a solid segment of Irish society that it infuriates that they are expected to tip. I'm American. I grew up tipping. I tip. I don't know. It seems to be a normal thing to me. If you're going to hire a guy to cycle through the rain to bring you your stupid burrito, how about you kick him a couple of bucks?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, in general, I think it's nice to give people money. Yeah. Just giving people money is nice.
If you can. And I appreciate that not everybody can.
Absolutely. So speaking of successes, you just opened for Neil Delamere in the SSE Arena in Belfast.
Yeah. So Neil Delamere has been a comedian that I've been watching for a decade. He's had radio shows and TV shows. He used to be on the show that I loved in Ireland called The Panel, which they don't do anymore. But that was one of my favorite comedy shows. But I was working with him at the International right up the road here, and I knew he was going on tour in a month. And he got there early enough to watch some of my set, because I'd never met him before. And I got off stage and he was like, "Oh, I liked that bit, and that bit's good, and it was good stuff." And I was like, "Cool." And I just kind of shot my shot. I was like, "By the way, here's my phone number. If you need an opening act for your tour, man, I'm around." And he was like, "Yeah." And then he called me 2 days later, and he brought me around. My first gig with him was in Limerick. In like August. And after he watched that one, he was like, all right, cool, you can handle it. And what's great about this is because I'm getting to play such bigger rooms, because he does work his stuff out in the clubs, but he plays theaters, you know what I mean? Mostly 200, 300, 400 seat theaters. And so it's wild to me to be able to play to that many people. To your point, playing in Belfast, that was 3,200 people. That's a stadium. You know what I mean? Like AC/DC plays there. You know what I mean? So
talk to me about how that felt just to walk out.
Really intimidating, especially at almost even more so at sound check, because I show up and I don't know where the hell to go. So I go to the front of the arena and I'm like, hi, I'm the opening act. And they're like, all right, hang on a second. And 4 guys get on walkie-talkies like, who's this guy? And eventually somebody comes out and gets me, and they walk me around the back, and they're like, right, just up these long stairs and then through that curtain, and you walk out on the stage. The stage is fucking huge, and it's just a empty stadium, and they're setting up all the seats on the floor, and it's massive. It's absolutely massive. So then, that kind of scared me. I walked out there. My wife was with me, and she was like, better you than me, man. I wouldn't want to stand up here in front of all these people, especially not with my garbage hack act. But no, it was super fun. It was so fun. And everybody was there. They were there for a good time. And like, that's the thing when you're opening for somebody bigger like that, they haven't heard of you, but they're totally rooting for you. You know what I mean? They didn't come to this gig to want to shit on somebody. You know what I mean? So they're there to have a good time. They got a babysitter. Maybe they had dinner first, and they come out and they're ready for you to hit them with something funny. And so like that was, I had the same experience when I opened for him at Vicar Street, which was at the time, Vicar Street was the biggest room I'd ever played. And Vicar Street's a legendary venue. I've seen so many comedians there. So to be on that stage was wild. So the walk out to the microphone after I got introduced, it's just so much farther than I'm used to walking. You know what I mean? Like most comedy clubs are in the basement of a pub or a room above a pub, or the lounge is a proper comedy club, a bespoke room that doesn't do anything else. But even that, once they say your name, maximum 18 steps to get to where you need to go. Whereas this, I felt like I listened to half of the music track that they were playing that I walked out to. But once you get out there and you go, hello, welcome, and then you get, when your first joke lands, then you're like, oh, I can do this. Okay. But there was a weird thing in the SSE Arena in Belfast where, so I do this thing halfway through. By the way, when you go see comedians, it's all a lie. We've rehearsed every line of it. The trick is to make it look like it's just occurring to you. So one of those little tricks I do is I'm halfway through and I'm making a metaphor about something. I go, well, it's a ridiculous situation. It's kind of like if you were, and when I went like this, there were still people up there. Like usually when I do that, I am looking at the roof. But there's still, stadium risers. I'm like, oh my God, there's people up there too. Don't look up there. So that's fine.
That's amazing. Oh my God, I couldn't imagine.
I had the shakes a little bit. Like I made a gesture at one. I was like, so this guy over here, and I look at my hand, and I'm like, my hand is shaking a little bit. Let's keep the arms in. I don't think anybody else could see it, but I could see it.
I don't think I could have done it. I would have done like a Michael McIntyre-esque kind of jump around out of pure nerves. Awkward.
That is fun because I was halfway through one of my jokes, and I was like, let's just walk. And so I just would walk during it all the way over to the side of the thing because, where I came up, tiny little stages. There's nowhere to walk. No. You can barely move the microphone stand out of the way. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. And Neil's been great to me. He's been bringing me around a lot of places. So I'm doing a bunch more dates with him. And then I'm going to be opening for Deirdre O'Kane in the Whale Theatre in Bray. And I'm chasing Jarlath Regan. If he's on this, I'm trying to get out Jarlath. He's going on tour as well. That's what I'm trying to do is I'm taking larger acts now that I know I can do it. And I always thought I could, but now like I have proof that I can do it. I'm trying to get more theater experience. Okay. So the goal is really, you were probably going to get to this, was to do my own shows and to do a tour, because that's kind of the ladder, I guess there is. So you start doing open mics, and then eventually, hopefully, if you're good at it, whoever runs the open mic is like, listen, we do a paid show on the Saturday or whatever, and we'd like you to do 7 minutes, and then you do that, and you do well, and you get up to 10 minutes, and then they trust you with 15 minutes, and then eventually they're like, we want you to close the show, you're going to do 25 minutes, yada yada, and that's how you break into clubs. So like when this was 14 years ago, I decided that my goal for that year was I wanted to gig at the Laughter Lounge.
Okay.
And so that was a matter of being a pain in the ass, but trying not to be a pain in the ass, just emailing him and being like, here's a clip of me from last week at this club. Shoot, when I started doing comedy, man, you used to have to get somebody to film you and record you a DVD that you would then put in the mail to somebody that you knew they weren't going to watch, but maybe they would. You're like, here's my 7-minute set. Please, can I come do an unpaid guest spot at your club? And if you go and you don't bomb, then maybe they'll ask you back.
Yeah.
So that's, the way you kind of you have to ask, I think is a lesson for people. Like if I hadn't asked Neil if I could open for him, I wouldn't be open for him now. You know what I mean? So you have to kind of put yourself out there. Yeah,
you kind of answered what I thought was going to be my question, which is about, climbing the ladder and getting to where you want to go. And how do you find like the comedy community in Dublin? Like how have you found, is it a very supportive one? Is it, have you found that people is it a lot of opportunities?
It's very supportive. The thing is, managing your own stupid lizard brain, where most of the time what you want to have happen is when somebody is doing well, you're like, that's awesome, they're really funny. But part of you, the jealous part of your brain is like, how come they're headlining that club? Why am I only opening there? That kind of thing. So you want to not be a jerk about it, but it's very supportive to your point. There's always people who, if you want to work out a bit with them, or if you're like, this is not really hitting, what do you guys think I should do? And they're like, oh, well, you give away the secret of the punchline in the opening, so get rid of that thing, and then that way the punchline is a bigger surprise when it lands, and it usually works. Or there's comics that you'll call and just be like, hey, do you want to sit down and run through some new ideas with each other and see if we can tag each other's bits up and maybe tighten them up and work on that. So
tighten each other's bits.
Yeah.
We love doing that.
Yeah.
I was doing a bit of a deep dive into your Instagram recently. No, you actually have it cleaned up pretty nice, but what you haven't cleaned up is your tags. And I was going back through old, posters and stuff.
With hashtags?
No, the tagged photos. I'll show it to you later.
Okay. Please.
There's nothing bad in there.
If there's anybody that knows anything about social media, like I'm just firing content into the void. I have no idea what I'm doing really, in terms of trying to get stuff to hit. But you mean like tagging other people in the photographs?
I'll show you later. But I was just looking at the old, posters and stuff of things, maybe 2016, 2017, and I'm just like, I maybe this is an obvious question, but like, how is Jim who started off and Jim who's now, like how what's the biggest difference there?
I'm better. I've been doing it for a lot longer. So. I've bombed a bunch. Yeah. So I've learned every time you bomb, it's an opportunity to learn something. Like, what did you do? Did you just not prepare enough? Do you not have enough material? That's an easy one not an easy one to fix, but you know what you have to do. You have to write more. Yeah. Sometimes it's a matter of you didn't match the energy of the room. Yeah. Sometimes you come on and if whatever it is, you've got some like subtle wordplay jokes that you want to do that are kind of delivered quietly, and you sort of want to do that. But if the room is really hot and the guy who went before you is a big act out character guy, then you better come up with a bit of big act out energy, because that's what they're expecting. So it's you just get better at connecting with the audience and making sure that we all know that this is something that we're going through together. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? You don't want to just come on and sort of just vomit your material on stage and not actually try to connect with anybody.
Absolutely. I think that's something that's so important for new comedians as well, to be comfortable with the failure at the beginning, because it's something that you're so frightened of, because the stakes feel so high, right? You're up on stage, maybe for the first time, the lights are on you, everybody's looking at you, and you have what you think is funny, but maybe might not hit. But I've seen it as well with like friends of mine, where they've done the same bit and it bombed one night
and killed
the next one. And so it really is this thing, but trying to get comfortable with failure is something that's so hard to do,
because that's also the only way you can generate new material. You have to, that's the thing, like you can, if you want to learn how to play guitar, you can practice by yourself in your bedroom for 4 years, and if you drill every day and do all the exercises every day, you're gonna get pretty good at the guitar. The thing is with jokes is that they decide if it's funny or not. I mean, everybody's got jokes that I've done, you do them 5 or 10 times because you think it's really funny. Yeah. And every single time you do it, you get up there and you're like, set up, punchline, huh? And everyone's like,
not today.
No. And you're like, all right, well, you're right then. It just doesn't work.
Yeah.
But you have to be willing to go up with brand new material that you've written and that you think is funny and it's structured correctly. And at this point, hopefully you know how to write a joke and tell a story and hit them with the reveal or the twist or whatever. And you have to just go out there and usually eat a sack of garbage with your new material. Because no matter how good you think it is, it's not all going to be great.
Yeah. Well, someone who's really good at that is bombing. This is going to sound so bad.
Yeah. Who's really good at bombing, Christina?
Kevin McGahern.
Kevin McGahern is terrible. He bombs all the time. No, he's great.
No,
he's
the
hilarious.
way he recovers from it is so funny. I went to go see him in On Shaw, and he was new material, right? So he was trying stuff up. And Kevin's a big comedian. Like he's been on RTE and he's really well known.
He knows what he's doing.
But he was given new material. He said a joke. I shouldn't say it, but because I don't want to be stealing. But he said a joke about baby soft heads that has stuck with me for a very long time. It hit something very like unnerved. But the way he threw stuff out there, it gave it a go. Sometimes it hit, and sometimes it didn't. But the way he went and recovered from that was unreal. Like just going, well, you didn't like that, did you? But and it's just like keep it moving, keep it flowing.
And that what he did, the thing that you do there is that if you're staying present in the moment in the room and acknowledge, like that's something that I think new comics struggle with a little bit. If something happens in the room, I'm not talking about somebody dropping a glass or something, acknowledge it. Recognize that everybody can see what is going on. When I was starting out, right, I was doing a showcase show in Virginia outside of DC, and it was near enough to Halloween, but it was not Halloween, and I'm 7 minutes into my 15-minute set, and two dudes came into the room and sat down dressed head to toe in cow outfits. They had full cow onesies with the hood and the ears and the udders and everything.
Wow.
And I'm halfway through, like, traffic's weird, and then, you know what I like to think about when I'm in traffic, and I look up and everybody in the crowd has noticed these people. And so you have to say something about it. Like, all right, what is going on? And one of them stood up and started dancing and was like, you sit down or I will tip you over. Like, I've spent time in the countryside. I know what to do, pal. But that, that made everybody laugh. But that's the thing. I remember thinking about that afterwards. Like, early open mic Jim would not have addressed it because I'm so nervous up there and I just want to get through my 7 minutes. And so I'd look and I'd see, okay, people dressed like cows, traffic bit. And here's the thing that I wrote about prison, and here's the thing that I wrote about, and not acknowledging what happened. But that's like when a joke bombs, absolutely say it to people. Yeah. Just to be like, look, I thought that was funny. Or even if sometimes you don't say anything. If you have a piece of paper there, you take out a pen and just draw a line through it. Like, nope. And then apologize to the good people for coming out and then go on. Yeah.
I think, recovery there is so important. I want to talk a little bit about your comedy style because it's something I'm a big fan of yours and I have been for a very long time. But one thing, my favorite thing that you've done has to have been in Dublin Comedy Crunch where you did The Night Before Christmas.
Oh, right on.
And this kind of like you just harness this moment in time and you, I don't know how you do this, right? You take this perfect moment and you just make it so funny. And do you want to talk to me about that?
Yeah, that's the Christmas show at the Crunch. And the Christmas show at the Comedy Crunch, they don't have their usual 2 acts in the first half, 2 acts in the second half, and a host, and that's the show. They get every comic that's in town because we're all going to go and get hammered. You know what I mean? And everybody does like 5 minutes, and but they'll put on 20 acts in a night. You know what I mean? It's a celebration. It's a Christmas party. It's the closest we get to having a Christmas party as comedians. And so, because it's not your normal set, it's the opportunity to do something weird. Yeah. You know what I mean? To do something that you wouldn't normally do. So like 6 years ago, I went and I was on towards the end of the show. So there had been like 8 or 10 comedians before me. And I just roasted each one of them. So I was in the back just writing, classic roast jokes from old roast. And so I did that. And everybody really liked it. And so then I started a roast battle club after that. But this year, I don't know, I wanted to do something different. And I was thinking about we had the tradition in my family for years where you gather whatever kids are at Christmas. So it's my nieces and nephews now, but it used to be me and my siblings. You'd get whoever the oldest dude was, your grandfather, now my dad's doing it, and you'd sit down on the couch and you'd read the classic poem, "'Twas the Night Before Christmas." You know what I mean? On Dasher, on Prancer, on Rudolph and Blixen, blah, 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 dash away, all. It's an old poem. And I was thinking about that poem, and I was simultaneously very frustrated politically at just what has, and people watching this know, everybody's broke, everything's getting more expensive, there's not enough housing, transport, pick a crisis, you know what I mean? It's the government, this government, God bless them, they couldn't legislate their way out of a wet paper bag, dude. It's hilarious. Everything they roll out, the bottle return machines never
the
work.
robbery.
Everybody hates those. There was a referendum that they just tried to get passed, double no's. Like it's amazing, the incompetence. And so I just wrote a poem about a guy who's living at home with his parents because he can't afford to move out, and just being frustrated with the things that he saw around him. And so and I wrote that. I realized that it's almost cheating, because when something is in a rhyme structure, it doesn't have to be all that funny as long as it matches. You know what I mean? So because a poem or a song already has the rhythm that you're trying to create with a joke, with a ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-bang, ba-da-ba-da-ba-da-ba-bang. And so I put that up. That's still probably my most successful clip that I've ever put up. So I shared that on a bunch of social media platforms, and I got a wonderful bit of feedback where people started texting me to say, my dad dropped this into the family group chat.
Oh, wow.
When you make it into the dad's WhatsApp forwards groups, that's some reach that I've never had before. That's fame. Yeah.
That's fame. Speaking of which, let's talk about your shows that you have coming up.
I'm going on tour this year. I've never done this before, but that's in terms of when you're thinking about the climbing the ladder and getting bigger and better. So that's it. So I've been working in every club and festival in town for a good few years now, with a COVID interruption. And I wanted to see if I could sell tickets myself, man, just to do my own show, to do an hour and bring someone with me to open for me. So it ties in a little bit with that poem that I talked about, the political one. So there's a guy by the name of Jamie O'Grady, works for MCD, and MCD are a giant promoter. So it's basically them and Aiken are the two big promoters of music and comedy in Ireland. And he reached out in January to be like, hey man, we'd love to work with you. Would you ever think about doing a solo show anywhere? And I was like, funny you should ask, because I have been trying to, at the time I was emailing venues myself, being like, hey, I'm a comedian, can I rent out your venue for a Thursday or Friday night, and I'll see if I can sell tickets. We'll do posters and press and all that crap. And I was like, this is perfect. Absolutely. I would love to. So I met up with him. We set up a bunch of dates around Ireland. And then at the end of the conversation, I was like, so let me ask, man, I know you're on the scene and you go to a lot of comedy gigs. How did you find me? Like, what made you want to reach out to me? And he goes, oh, well, I saw that "'Twas the Night Before Christmas" poem online. I was like, nice. So that actually attracted attention of a guy who works in the industry.
Amazing.
So with MCD, I've got a gig at the Limelight up in Belfast. I've got April 7th are my gigs in Whelan's. So we sold out the first show. We added a late show. Still trying to sell tickets for this, and this is terrifying. This is another sort of terrifying thing, because if you're working a club, it's on that club to get people in the door. They're trading on their reputation and whatever press and advertising they do, and they've picked you, so you're going to work the weekend at that club. But this is just me trying to sell tickets to go see me, and I've got I went and got headshots done, and then you get the poster made of those. And you throw that around, and so I'm terrified. I'm excited about it, and I know it's going to be a really good show, because I know that I can bring the goods. But how do you convince people to leave the house and to go to a gig, and specifically to go see you? Yeah, I think actually your account and platform is one of the most inspiring things I've seen. Last minute crack rules, dude. It's such a great, it's almost a public service. You know what I mean? Because the amount of people who are sitting at home on Thursday being like, all right, tomorrow's Friday. What are we going to do this weekend? I don't know what's on. And so you sort of, it requires a certain presence on the scene to be able to know, there's a salsa night and there's a Brazilian jazz funk thing on Sunday afternoon that's really cool, and then there's these comedy gigs that are going down, and to be able to put that out and tell everybody, for all the complaining that we do, and I do, Dublin's a great city for arts. There's all kinds of creative people. There's all kinds of talented people and people who just get together and go, hey man, we're going to put together a night. There's going to be a little bit of comedy and maybe some poetry and music and some spoken word or something. They put it together. Or you get a bunch of people together. They're like, look, we all really love 90s hip hop. Let's get a 90s hip hop night. There'll be a DJ there just playing old, just old Snoop Dogg and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's a great account. So, I'm proud of you guys.
Thank you.
Every once in a while I'll be somewhere else on the internet and I'll see somebody else talking about Last Minute Crack and I'm like, that's Christina. Go on. Yeah.
I remember you sent me something from Reddit and I was like, I've made it.
Yeah. So it was on Reddit because somebody was just posting in the Dublin subreddit. They're like, hey, I want to go out this weekend, but every time me and my friends go out, we always just go to the same bar and sit there and talk. I want to do something. What's going down? And somebody else linked your account and there were the usual, what is it? You post on Wednesdays? Is it where you're like, oh, what's up this week?
Mondays and Fridays.
So they dropped whatever the most recent one was, and then their comments filled up with, "Holy crap, this is really good!" Like I'm going to follow these people. So yeah, it's dope.
Well, it's enough about me. I want to talk. I have written down the show dates. So by the time this come out, I think you'll just be kicking it off. So you have your first show in Kilkenny.
First show's in Kilkenny, March 23rd. If you know anybody in Kilkenny, please let them know.
Kilkenny.
Yeah.
Whelan's April 7th.
Whelan's 2 shows, April 7th. That's the Sunday. So I'm so excited for that one.
We have Limerick, May 11th. Dundalk, May 16th. Belfast, again.
Belfast, going 23rd. Back up to Belfast on the 23rd.
And then the day straight after to Galway on May 24th.
Straight after Belfast to Galway, May 24th. There's actually one that I just put in the calendar 2 days ago. That's not even on sale yet, but it'll be on sale by the time this comes out.
Exclusive.
That is May 17th in Portlaoise in Kavanagh.
Oh, hell yeah.
So if you know anybody in good old County Louth out there, get them out. So
did you say that on purpose?
Of course.
Immediately. You got me. Well, I want to wish you the best of luck with these.
So much,
I know
man.
You're going to kill it, Jim. You're absolutely phenomenal to watch. And
I'm
seeing you grow in this space has just been an absolute privilege.
Thanks very much.
And I'm just excited for you to blow up.
I'm glad you guys have a podcast now because that was the next step for Last Minute Crack account. So you guys, you're going to be a promoter yourself in a couple of years, man.
We'll see where we go. I would love, if anybody out there has money that they want to give me, please.
Or even just if you got a space that's a decent performing space and you're not doing anything with it and you need to know somebody who's plugged in and knows a lot of artists, I
know him.
So
get on to me.
Yeah.
All right, brilliant. So we're going to wrap up now. So this is time for last minute plugs, last minute socials.
Just follow me on every platform, JimElliottComedy.com. Maybe there'll be some more bot accounts creating fake accounts, but I doubt it. I got that one suspended, so he's got to
get you verified now.
Got to get me verified. Yes, I need to be giving more money to these platforms that I generate free content for. I should be paying them. Absolutely. That's what we should do.
That's it. Yeah. That's correct. Right. A big thanks to Music Maker, as always, for having us in. We'll see you next time. Bye.